All right, Buffalo Bills fans, welcome to this episode of The Walkthrough. I am your host, Anthony Marino. Happy to be here with you once again, talking everything Buffalo Bills. And once again, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Here, part of the Overreaction Sports Network, and happy to be with you talking everything Buffalo Bills as we get ready towards a big Week 5 matchup against the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. And yes, it's the rivalry game for the Buffalo Bills, sporting those special uniform combos on Sunday night, and we'll definitely be curious to see what those look like on Sunday Night Football for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so let's get kind of into things right now, starting out with the injury report. I've got it over here to my left. You know, you go through things. What was released late on Friday, Joey Bosa, full participant Friday, no game day status, all good there. Spencer Brown was limited in practice on Friday, as he was on Wednesday and Thursday with a calf injury, hopefully trending in the right direction. He has a questionable status for Sunday's game. Jackson Hawes got in a full practice on Friday, no game day status for him, so all systems going for the Buffalo Bills rookie tight end. Matt Milano, another limited practice. He is listed as questionable, as is Ed Oliver, also limited on Friday, as was TJ Sanders with a knee injury, also listed as questionable. And you got two players that are going to be out, both the Dorian Strong, Dorian Williams, both out DNP on Thursday and Friday, and both of them will be out for the game against the Patriots. You know, kind of the most interesting piece, you've got some guys trending in the right direction, most notably Matt Milano, Spencer Brown, Ed Oliver. What will their status be for Sunday? You know, right now, if I had to guess, I would think that Spencer Brown is going to play. I would think that Matt Milano is going to play, and I'm guessing that Ed Oliver will not. While it would be great to see Ed Oliver back, at least by all indications, maybe this is something that's going to take one more week. And, you know, you don't want to rush someone too soon just to get back on the field, especially as early as Week 5. For me, obviously, you talk about Dorian Williams being out for this game. That kind of amplifies things just a little bit when it comes to Matt Milano and him coming back for the Bills. I'm going to be curious to see what happens here, right? Shaq Thompson has been playing more snaps over these past few weeks and kind of filling in admirably there. I would imagine if Milano can't go, that's the guy that's going to get the start for the Bills. But again, we will see on Sunday certainly what takes place. But at this time, I have to guess that Milano would be back. Would love to see him back with Terrell Bernard in that linebacking core, and maybe Shaq Thompson jumping in some three linebacker spots, or even to give, you know, Milano a little bit of a breather here and there, which I think could be a good thing, just as he's kind of easing his way back in. But again, that's just my speculation. Nothing specific right now. We will wait to see when the inactives come out about an hour prior to kickoff on Sunday night, again, as the Bills take on the New England Patriots. So listen, we're going to talk about this matchup. I've got a few things that, you know, that I'm keeping an eye on, like each and every week that we touch base on. But real quick, got to let you know, of course, the walkthrough brought to you by our friends at Anchor Bar. Enjoy the games at your local Anchor Bar, or order online for pickup or delivery. Anchor Bar is home of the original Buffalo Chicken Wing, and it's the place to watch the Buffalo Bills and all your favorite sports teams. Go to anchorbar.com to see all locations and info for online ordering. Anchor Bar original Buffalo wings are always fresh. They're never frozen. Jumbo, high-quality wings. They're deep fried and sauced to your liking, and they've got 24 varieties of sauces and dry rubs that you can choose from. In addition to the original Buffalo wings, all Anchor Bar locations have a wide variety of menu choices, such as appetizers, boneless wings, chicken tenders, pizza, beef on weck, fresh burgers, sandwiches, salads, and wraps. They got it all, right? So currently, Anchor Bar has 16 locations, with 3 new locations opening this fall in Tucson, Arizona, Frisco, Texas, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And we're going to have to talk to our friends at Anchor Bar to see if they can open a location here in Albany, New York. That would be certainly fantastic. So again, all right, let's get into the matchup now. And as we talk about this, you know, on Sunday Night Football for the Bills, and as you know, the walkthrough, right, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, they've got this game listed at the Bills as an 8.5-point favorite, the over-under at 49.5 points, and probably about where things should be right now. The arrow is definitely pointing up for the Patriots. Big victory over the Carolina Panthers last week. And when I say a big victory, not that it wasn't expected, but a big margin of victory, like a convincing win for them. Probably something that Patriots fans could feel good about. I would imagine they would, right? Like any convincing victory you come away from and feel that you're in a good place moving forward, coming into a primetime nationally televised game against, the defending AFC East champions. So, as you look at that, 8.5 sounds about right. Maybe for some, it might feel a little bit rich based on how the Bills have played the last couple of weeks. And when I say how the Bills have played the last couple of weeks, I mean, it's been two-score victories, right? It just hasn't been as convincing as many of us would like. But, at the end of the day, you can look at things 31-19 victory over the Saints. Okay. You get out of it, you get the win, and you move on to next week. So 8.5, probably about right. I will be curious to see how things come about. And obviously you are too. That's why you're watching the show. And that's why we're kind of getting ready for kickoff on Sunday. The main topic I wanted to jump into, though, with the show, and it's a little bit interesting, as I call it like the Stefon Diggs dilemma. And I think when you look at this game, Stefon Diggs' first game back in Buffalo, and he spoke to the media earlier this week, said all of the right things. There's a lot of fans that still have kind of some pent-up animosity towards Diggs. And that's understandable, right? Anytime a player basically forces his way out of town, that's going to happen, right? I mean, there was certainly some drama with Diggs in the last season that he was in Buffalo, and just kind of everything with mandatory mini camps and his attendance and whatever might have been going on between him and Josh Allen. And he gets traded to the Houston Texans. It's a short season for him because of the injury. Then he's a free agent and he signs with the New England Patriots. And now this is his first trip back to Buffalo. And I say the Diggs dilemma because I think everyone's going to handle this just a little bit differently. Myself, I can look at things and think, gosh, what the Buffalo Bills offense was before Stefon Diggs and what it became immediately once he got to town, it was kind of night and day, right? I mean, yeah, the Bills made the playoffs in 2019. They showed some promise. Cole Beasley and John Brown as your receivers. But then Diggs comes in, and I mean, you have a 1,500-plus yard receiver, a Pro Bowl caliber, all-pro caliber player. And here you are, with all of a sudden, gosh, Josh Allen's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. This is one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. And the Bills went from, hey, we hope that they can make the playoffs to, man, the Bills are a Super Bowl contender. And I don't give all the credit to Stefon Diggs. Of course you don't. It's not that type of sport. It's not that type of game. But for what the Bills offense became right when he got to town, that was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to be a fan. And it helped catapult the Bills from being a bit of an afterthought or, oh, yeah, they want to be a contender to, no, again, they absolutely are. And you think back to some of those games, a couple, especially against New England, right? I mean, that, what was it, Monday Night Football game, right, where he goes for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns and was absolutely unstoppable. I think that's the game Bill Belichick was like throwing the phone on the sideline, and you think to yourself, like, gosh, this is our team. This is our offense. Of course, the game in Foxborough where he catches the touchdown and then had a few choice words for some of the Pats fans sitting in the first row. It's like, you had a bit of a swagger as a franchise for the first time. And I give a lot of that credit to Diggs. And again, the stuff at the end was annoying. It was annoying that it was the conversation each and every day, and media availability and press conferences and on social media and the articles we write and the podcasts that we host. But I'm thankful for the good that Diggs was with the Bills. And I know many fans will kind of disagree, because then once he's gone, there's a bitterness, there's a bit of a hate, right? It's a rivalry. It's sports. There's supposed to be that, right? Like, you're not always supposed to be the most reasonable with your takes or with your thoughts when it comes to this. But I'm curious to see what the reception will be like on Sunday. I guess there will be some applause. I guess there will be many more boos. I myself, when I look at Stefon Diggs, I'm just going to look back at it and be thankful for the years that he was in Buffalo and how he helped, again, I keep using this word, but how he helped catapult the Buffalo Bills offense from something in the past that was just kind of so-so to one of the best offenses in football. Now, as I say that, right, like, hey, okay, I'll think back fondly, I'll romanticize about the good times. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd like to see him like come out with 0 catches for 0 yards on however many targets, and the Bills to shut out the Patriots on Sunday night. Like, as I say this, again, reminiscing about the good times. Like, it almost sounds like after a breakup, right? Like, you can be bitter, you can be all those things, but then as time passes, you can look back and think like, yeah, there were some really good moments that took place there. And that was certainly the case with Diggs. So I say that, jump in the comment section here. Let me know your thoughts. I'm sure many of you probably disagree with me, and that's fine. Like, I totally get that. But for me, I'll be curious to see what the reception is like. And rather than hold any animosity, I'll just be like, again, thankful for all the good that Stefon Diggs did with the Buffalo Bills. And I wish him the best, I guess. So just not Sunday night with his performance on the field. So listen, a couple other things I wanted to get into as well when you talk about this game. One is on special teams. Bills have a new punter, third punter of the year, which I got to be honest is a little bit annoying to me. It's just like, gosh, when you think about free agency and the draft and training camp and all of these things, it's just, you'd think this is something that you could have locked up earlier to have a little bit of consistency for your special teams unit. Your punter is your holder for your kicker. Of course, you go Taylor Bass, his injury, then you've got Matt Prater in. So it's like there, just the change around special teams is kind of annoying, for lack of a better word. But when you look to this weekend, the Patriots have one of the most dynamic punt returners in Marcus Jones in all of football. And, if you were to look at the game they had last weekend against the Panthers and like the box score, and like, yeah, there's some good performances, but he was their top player. I mean, he returns one punt for 80 plus yards for a touchdown. He returns another one that he almost took to the house for like 60 plus yards. And those are 2 game-changing plays. I'm not saying that the Panthers were in a position to win that game or something would happen, but those are the types of things that are just soul-crushing to a team. And for that to take place on special teams. And, the Bills special teams unit, while they've shown some good signs, there's been a couple of little cracks that we've seen, right? Like, just to, especially last weekend, you had the Saints with some, favorable field position when they would start with the ball on offense. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this, right? Usually when we talk about a game leading into things, like special teams doesn't even like make the list of what we're looking at. But to me, that's just something like, okay, the Bills will be cognizant of it again, especially because that game just took place last week. But let's make sure that special teams are buttoned up. We don't need any big punt returns to kind of swing things here and give the Patriots any sort of momentum swing that they would want. So that's something that I definitely have to keeping an eye on. A big topic of conversation this week, different content creators, our buddy Pat Moran from Talking Buffalo. We heard really everywhere it's been. Pat, I guess, has been the most vocal, and he's a friend, so it's easy to kind of note with him. But it's just been like the early struggles of Greg Rousseau. Everyone's certainly excited when he signed the new contract extension. We felt it was well-deserved. And Rousseau has always been that like real steady player for the Bills. Great against the run, some flashes with the pass rush. And so far through 4 games, things have just been okay, right? And you've seen him in the past have some big games, put some more pressure on the quarterback. Just hasn't been there yet. There's been some speculation that he had a bone bruise on his knee from the Ravens game. But, let's be honest, he hasn't showed up in any injury reports. So you have to imagine, okay, it's not something that big, but maybe lingering. And I don't know. At this point, it just kind of seems like I'm just pushing that one to the side. And maybe that's wrong on me. But, with this, I guess what I'm just saying is like Greg Rousseau, we've talked about him on the show before. You're ready for that breakout to come. this could certainly be a good game for it. When you talk about Drake May, a young starting quarterback that's mobile out of the pocket, like your defensive ends are going to need to help contain things there. They're going to need to get that pressure, and they're going to need to, help the Buffalo Bills contain him and bring him down in a few situations. For the Buffalo Bills defense to kind of take that next step, and I mean that just that next step of proceeding from where they've been, right? We can talk about third down. We can talk about them against the run. Gregory Rousseau playing, I don't even want to say to his potential, but just kind of the expectations of where he's been in the past. That's something that you want to see. And sometimes guys are in a little bit of a slump. Sometimes they start the season fast and they kind of dip a little bit and whatever it may be. But for him, it's kind of like, all right, man, the time is now. Like it's, we're getting to week 5. You've batted down a couple of passes. You've got a half of a sack, but let's see the Greg Rousseau game. Like, I think we're all ready for that. And I'm not making any excuses. Like, yeah, I know Ed Oliver's been out and there's been kind of some rookies playing at defensive tackle, but listen, that really hasn't affected Joey Bosa and what he's been able to do. And again, you have a plus edge rusher on the other side from you now. We've seen flashes from AJ Epinesa. Like, Gregory Rousseau, hopefully this is his week on Sunday Night Football, and we see him getting back to kind of that defensive end that we all hope that he would and could be. So, another thing when we talk about this, it's just like, who eats this week? Last week we talked about it. I'm not big on making predictions and saying, oh, hey, I got this one right. But last week I got this one right. It was, Khalil Shakir. I was thinking he would be next up in the rotation because, through those first few weeks of the season, it was Keon Coleman in week 1, Dalton Kincaid in week 2, Josh Palmer in week 3, and then it was Shakir in week 4. So, with the Bills, it's been a different leading receiver each of these first 4 games. And is it going to be someone different this time around? I don't think so. We're kind of running out of some of those options. I don't think it's going to be Dawson Knox or Jackson Hawes or Elijah Moore or Curtis Samuel, who was active last week. We'll be curious to see if he is again this time around. But it's just that recurring theme, right? Like, there's going to be a different leading receiver for the Bills each and every week. Is it a repeat performance for Shakir? I don't know. I guess if I had to think with someone, maybe it's Keon Coleman. I thought he got off to a fast start in the game last weekend against the Saints, and then it was a pretty quiet second half. Even on the interception that Josh Allen threw, I thought, Coleman had his man beat. And again, if the safety wasn't in play there, it could have been one of those big dynamic catches. But I like what I've seen from him so far. Again, it's not going to be, when you talk about a breakout season of like 1,200 yards and 90 catches or any of those pieces, but just a bit more consistency. And I think as we see that, this might be a Keon Coleman game for the Bills. But let me know what you think. I mean, who do you think is going to be that player? Maybe it is going to be Elijah Moore. I don't know. They've, worked him in different ways. I mean, only one touch last weekend. That's something certainly to see. But, the Bills have been leaning on, their top weapons. I mean, that's certainly the case with James Cook. And I know everybody's asking about, Ray Davis and when is he going to get more touches? I'm certainly hoping for that. I don't know. I was going to talk about Landon Jackson on this show, but I can't help myself. Maybe we will see the debut of Landon Jackson this weekend over Javon Solomon. I certainly hope that's the case, but we will see. So, really, as you go through with it again, I'm curious to see everything with Diggs, from the reception to how he plays on the field and just how the fans react and certainly how he reacts. Is he going to kind of embrace that role of the quote unquote villain, or is he just going to go out and be all business and see what he does on the field? Of course, Gregory Rousseau, we're waiting, man. We know it's in there. We've seen it before. Hopefully this is the week for him. And who is going to be that pass catcher for the Bills that will lead the team this week? I'm so curious to see who it will be. And again, it should be a great matchup on Sunday Night Football. As I mentioned, FanDuel has the Bills at an 8.5-point favorite, 49.5 points on the over-under. We always appreciate their support of the show and appreciate your support of the show. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like button. Make sure you share this show. Make sure you subscribe, because you don't want to just get the walkthrough each and every week, but you want to get all the shows we have here at the Overreaction Sports Network. We've got Mafia Bets, Zig Fracassi is joining us now, and of course, all the great content from Joe Miller, John Fina, Jerry Ostrowski, and myself, Anthony Marino. So listen, I'm going to get out of here for now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Looking forward to the game on Sunday night. So should be a good one. All right, go Bills. Take care. I'll see y'all next week.